is the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Celebrity Afterlife Report for 2016. I'm your host, the Celebrity Medium. You know, I thought it would be good to kick off this new year with a look back at the major events in the next world celebrity scene from 2015. So if you're a new listener to the report, this will help you catch up, I hope. And if you're a long-time listener, this will help refresh your memory so we can all move forward together. So let's see what happened in the afterlife in 2015. I guess the biggest story we covered on the report last year was the ongoing saga of the all-female town actress singer Judy Garland tried to establish in the next world. Having been through 4 divorces on the earthly plane, Judy has understandably been a bit soured on the male gender. So she had an architect draw up plans for a town that would have only female inhabitants, and she had many lesbians and radical feminists who were eager to move into it. Now the trouble began when she couldn't find enough male construction workers willing to work in a city that would exclude them. To the rescue came Fred Trump, father of the current Republican candidate for the American presidency, who loaned her some of his workers. Over time, Judy fell in love with Trump Sr. and married him, much to the chagrin of her followers, who were outraged when she announced that she and her new hubby would run the town as co-mayors. The prospective citizens rebelled, leaving Judy with a half-constructed town with no occupants. Pioneering aviator Charles Lindbergh arrived on the scene and convinced Ms. Garland to give the blueprints to the town to him. And over a period of several weeks, we found out that Lindbergh, a known Nazi sympathizer, was secretly planning on making the town an all-white community. He tried to get Adolf Hitler involved in the scheme, but Hitler, a changed man who has renounced his fascist ways, refused to be part of it. The former Fuhrer joined Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and others in protesting by picketing outside the walls of the still unfinished town, ultimately causing Lucky Lindy to abandon his grand plan. Eventually, Judy Garland discovered that Fred Trump was behind the whole thing all along, and she left him. Meanwhile, Hitler and Dr. King became good friends and roommates, King being on the outs with his wife, Coretta. As of now, the town is still unfinished, and Adolf has been trying to put together a one-man musical show about his life. That's right. Another big story we followed throughout 2015 is the saga of what many have called the Afterlife's oddest couple, singer, actress Whitney Houston and former American President Abraham Lincoln. The two appear to have met at a celebrity get-together of some kind and soon fell in love. Whitney said that she loved Honest Abe's intelligence and sense of humor. Abe said that he found Whitney to be a, quote, fine specimen of Negro womanhood, unquote, a compliment that he apologized for when it was explained to him that, you know, Abe, we really don't use the word Negro much anymore. Despite that faux pas, the two eventually got married. In spite of, or probably actually because of, their notoriety in the next world, the two were offered their own reality show, The Crazy Life of Abe and Whitney, which became a huge hit on Afterlife TV. When Whitney's daughter Bobby Christina transitioned to the next world, she became a member of the Crazy Life cast, as well as the couple's variety show, which aired over the summer when the reality show wasn't being recorded. So all seemed well for the oddball family until the producers decided to add a boyfriend for Bobby Christina to the Crazy Life cast. After auditioning many aspiring performers, they eventually settled on Abe's fellow former Republican president, Richard Nixon. While Mr. Lincoln initially appeared not to know who Nixon was, his new wife not only knew very well who Tricky Dick was, She was annoyed that he was portraying her baby's new beau. The special Thanksgiving dinner episode of the program brought things to a head when Nixon, reportedly encouraged by the producers to provoke some controversy, got into an argument with Lincoln about which of them was the greater president. That kerfuffle caused Whitney and Abe to walk off the show. Okay, they came back a few days later, but they walked off once more, this time apparently for good, when Nixon again stirred the pot. As of the last time we reported on this story, they were still off the show, and the producers were scrambling to figure out a way to proceed. Also in 2015, two of the most iconic names in their respective fields, Apple co-founder and former CEO Steve Jobs and legendary painter Jackson Pollock, found themselves at odds with each other. Months back, Jobs launched what he called his greatest project to date, the iVironment, a blimp hangar-sized structure designed to allow Afterlife residents to enjoy a rainy day in a controlled atmosphere. Ever the showman, Jobs commissioned Pollock to paint a mural to be installed in the rainforest section of the iVironment. Rather than one of his famous drip paintings, however, Pollock painted a huge, very realistic female nude. When Jobs saw the finished product, he refused to allow it to hang in the iVironment, which he considers a family attraction. Pollock was furious at Jobs for breaking their handshake deal. Jobs countered that he had only agreed to let the painting hang in a publicly accessible place and not specifically the iVironment, and then he proceeded to have the 50 by 25 foot mural hung on the rear wall of his office building facing an alleyway. An angry Pollock retaliated by arranging for dozens of buses an hour to drive through the alley, allowing tourists to see his masterpiece. After weeks of Jobs being subjected to the noise and fumes of the buses outside his office window, he reluctantly agreed to put the painting back in the iVironment so long as it was covered during daytime hours when children would be present. Now, to everyone's surprise, the so-called iVironment After Dark became a huge hit, especially with couples who like to make love surreptitiously in the simulated jungle area beneath the salacious artwork. At the end of 2015, it was rumored that Jobs was trying to find someone to take over management of the iVironment so as to get out of the whole mess. Jim Morrison had a rough year in the next world. 2015 started off strong for the front man of the Doors as he toured with the Legends, a band composed of Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Keith Moon, and himself. The tour fell apart, however, when Morrison let his inner diva out, demanding more stage time and better billing than the other band members. So the Legends fired Morrison. In retaliation, the Lizard King formed the Real Legends, which turned out to be a bunch of impersonators of his former bandmates. That did not sit well with fans, so Morrison was forced to disband the Real Legends midway through their concert schedule. From there, he went on to apply for an acting gig with the company founded and run by William Shakespeare and Vince McMahon Sr. So things seemed to be going well until Jim balked at playing women's parts, as was the custom in the Bard's time. He also got into a backstage fight with Rowdy Roddy Piper over Piper looking directly at him, something Morrison insisted people not do. So, as you would expect, he was fired from that job as well. As 2015 came to a close, Jim had found a job working with Bob Keeshan, who played Captain Kangaroo on Earthly Plane TV, as the sidekick on a kids' show about animals. In the middle of one scene, Morrison started mumbling, "I can't do this," and abruptly walked off the set. As of this writing, he has not been heard from since. And now for some quick summaries of other stories we covered over the past year. J. Edgar Hoover, longtime director of the FBI, has had gender reassignment surgery and is now living as Edith Colson, wife of her former right-hand man at the Bureau. Sonny Bono, former husband and showbiz partner of Cher, announced he was going to start a chain of White Castle restaurants in the afterlife. After several months, the first of the castles opened to a large, enthusiastic crowd. Don Knotts, who starred as the beloved Barney Fife on the Andy Griffith Show, has become a physical fitness nut. Because of his new physique, Griffith reluctantly had to tell Knotts that he was canceling plans to produce a revival of their old show for Next World Television, as Don no longer looks right for the part. Rudd Weatherwax, the man behind the Lassie movies and TV show, started to produce an all-dog action/buddy cop film, but had to change it into a comedy halfway through when he realized that the original premise was unfilmable. The Lassie Squad has since become a midnight movie cult classic in the afterlife. Comedian Andy Kaufman was performing as Elvis II with the permission of the original Elvis. Andy's insistence that his doppelganger Tony Clifton be Elvis II's opening act made for problems when Clifton alienated audiences. Andy Warhol and actress Marilyn Monroe were another unlikely couple in 2015. Monroe gave permission to Donna Douglas, Ellie Mae from the Beverly Hills TV show, to play her in a biographical movie. Warhol, however, objected to the casting. Monroe stood her ground, and she broke up with the pop artist. Weeks later, Warhol nearly came to blows with Monroe's former husband Joe DiMaggio when the spindly Warhol confronted the Yankee hero about his dating Monroe again. Speaking of former Yankees, Babe Ruth is now a morning drive radio shock jock in the next world. His abrasive personality has caused many a guest to walk out on the show, and Ruth's habit of insulting them has made the show perhaps the most controversial and popular one on the Afterlife airwaves. Mao Zedong, the founding father and leader of Communist China from 1949 to 1976, gave an interview in which he expressed his opinion about current-day China and what he thinks about its direction. Mao shocked many in the next world when he said that today's leaders of China should all be executed for not following the path he laid out for the country. Comedian John Belushi and his afterlife wife Nicole Brown, former wife of O.J. Simpson, adopted a 10-year-old Korean boy named Kim. Over the course of 2015, John attempted to make Kim Belushi a movie star but failed when it turned out that the boy had no apparent acting talent and couldn't speak English very well. In a shocking career change, former U.S. Senator Ted Kennedy made a porno movie titled Mr. Kennedy Comes to Washington with 50s movie star Jane Mansfield. Rumor has it that the senator needed a stand-in for some scenes, however, if you catch my drift. Former Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain is now married to the very pneumatic Anna Nicole Smith. A love-struck Cobain made Smith the lead singer in a revived version of his old band, much to the chagrin of his fans. Since then, the couple has been doing a very strange late-night show on cable TV that has viewers shaking their heads in confusion. Orville and Wilbur Wright, the co-inventors of the airplane, both had a hankering for Sally Ride, America's first woman in space. As things turned out, however, Ms. Ride preferred their sister Catherine, causing the Wright brothers to try to prove their manhood by going into modeling. Okay, that's pretty much all I have the energy for at the moment. That should have gotten you up to speed about much of what happened in the Next World Celebrity scene over the last year. Please join us next week when we'll have new up-to-date gossip about all your favorite deceased celebrities. I am the Celebrity Medium. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast. To ask a question about your favorite deceased celebrity, call 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-369-3732.